Have you ever laughed at a friend's joke, even though something inside you tightened just a little? You smiled, you laughed, but later, when you were alone, that joke kept playing in your mind. And you asked yourself, why did that hurt so much, even though they said it was just a joke? This isn't just about being sensitive. There's a psychology behind people who hurt others under the guise of humor. And understanding it can save you from emotional pain or even toxic relationships. The first thing to realize is that humor is not always harmless. Psychologists distinguish between affiliative humor, jokes that strengthen bonds, and aggressive humor, jokes aimed at teasing, mocking, or putting someone down. People who constantly hurt others, as a joke, usually fall into the latter category. Aggressive humor is more than a bad habit. It's often a reflection of deeper psychological patterns. People who do this frequently might feel insecure themselves. By putting someone else down, they temporarily feel superior, more in control, or more socially dominant. In a way, these jokes are a mask. Behind every just kidding comment is often a fear of being vulnerable. By making someone else the target, they avoid exposing their own weaknesses. But it's not always insecurity. Some people use hurtful humor as a way to manipulate. If someone consistently jokes at your expense, they might be testing boundaries, gauging how much control they can exert, or even shaping your self-image to suit their needs. Think about the dynamics in social groups. Someone who constantly teases may appear charming and funny at first because laughter can mask the harm. Over time, though, repeated exposure can erode self-esteem, creating a subtle emotional imbalance. Interestingly, research shows that people who frequently hurt others as a joke often have lower empathy. They may struggle to understand or care about how their words impact someone else. But it's not always malicious. Sometimes they simply cannot recognize the emotional weight of their humor. Here's another layer. Some people use humor as a social defense mechanism. By making fun of others, they distract from their own insecurities, past traumas, or anxieties. The laugh they get isn't just about the joke. It's validation, a sign that they are accepted despite their inner fear. However, the problem arises when this behavior becomes habitual. If the person you care about constantly hurts you, even while smiling and calling it a joke, it can create long-term psychological stress. You may start doubting your feelings, questioning if you're too sensitive, or even adjusting your behavior to avoid their jokes. It's also important to consider the context. Humor is culturally and socially influenced. Some jokes that seem playful to one person can feel humiliating or threatening to another. People who ignore these cues are often prioritizing their own amusement over empathy. So, how do you recognize this type of behavior? One key sign is repetition. Everyone makes a thoughtless joke now and then, but someone who constantly targets you, your insecurities, or your mistakes is crossing a boundary. Another sign is the follow-up. Do they laugh with you or at you? Genuine humor involves shared laughter. If the punchline is always at your expense, it's aggressive, not playful. Dealing with these people requires self-awareness. First, acknowledge that it's not about your sensitivity. It's about their behavior. Then set boundaries. You have the right to say, "That joke hurt me," without feeling guilty. Sometimes people respond defensively when confronted. They may say, "I was just joking," or "You're too sensitive." But remember, repeated patterns matter more than a single comment. True friends or healthy social connections respect boundaries. In some cases, humor can be a mask for bullying. If the jokes are persistent and hurtful, it may be a form of emotional manipulation. Recognizing this allows you to protect your emotional well-being, limit exposure, or even step away if necessary. Psychology also tells us that empathy and perspective-taking are key. People who constantly hurt others as a joke often struggle to imagine the emotional impact of their words. They may not intend deep harm, but intent doesn't erase effect. For some, hurtful jokes are also tied to past experiences. Maybe they were teased themselves and learned that humor is a way to survive socially. They repeat the cycle without realizing the damage they're causing. Interestingly, neuroscience shows that laughter and social reward are linked in our brains. When someone laughs at their joke, even if it's at your expense, it triggers a positive reinforcement loop. The more they do it, the more rewarding it feels, making the behavior habitual. But there's hope for both sides. Awareness is the first step. Understanding why people hurt others under the guise of humor allows you to respond more thoughtfully rather than reactively. You can also practice self-validation. Recognize your own feelings and trust that they matter. Just because someone calls it a joke doesn't mean your emotions are invalid. Finally, consider empathy and communication. Some people are unaware of the harm they cause. A calm, honest conversation about how their jokes affect you can shift patterns. But if the behavior persists, it's a signal about the health of that relationship. In conclusion, hurting others, as a joke, is rarely harmless. It can stem from insecurity, a need for control, or a learned social pattern. It can erode self-esteem, distort friendships, and create long-term emotional strain. Recognizing these patterns, setting boundaries, and validating your own feelings are crucial. Humor should build connections, not tear them down. And once you understand the psychology behind hurtful jokes, you can navigate these interactions with clarity, confidence, and self-respect. Remember, you deserve friends who laugh with you, not at your expense. And sometimes the best way to protect your well-being is to step back from the laughter that hurts.